If the college football calendar is like In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, we are walking towards the drum set. We're about to just do like 3 days away. Florida State and Georgia Tech already experienced this. The rest of us are right on the precipice, right on the doorstep of finding out if we're right about everything, wrong about everything. The JP poll's a little bit shook right now, but don't worry. We're going to make it through it together. Josh Pate's college football show is live high atop a radiant downtown Nashville, Tennessee on this Tuesday night, August 27th, the year of our Lord 2024. Listen to this. You hear that stack of papers hit the ground here? We've got a show almost illegally jam-packed. It's prediction night. Every Tuesday night during the season, we take the biggest games and we break them down. I'm going to tell you what the model thinks about each game. We're going to tell you what FanDuel thinks about each game. I'm going to pick each game, and so it will be tonight. The only one I'm going to save till Thursday is LSU USC because it's a Sunday night game. I watched the Connor Stalions documentary already on Netflix, and in the interest of not doing the whole spoiler alert thing, I'm going to be responsible about the way I talk to it tonight, but there was really not much that was revealed, so I'm not sure spoiler alert is necessarily how we need to label that. How bad is it at Florida State right now? Is it going to be okay at Florida State? Did I say some things on the other night's show that I have since gone back and deemed to be incorrect? I will talk to you about that tonight. All that plus an ongoing, raging debate about preseason rankings. Not just ratings, rankings, and where they fit and if they fit at all. And as Meemaw would say, much to do about nothing, but yet it's not. A lot of you are talking about this right now. I've got a very, very evergreen take on that, and I will serve it up. And by the end of tonight's show, I'm going to really have fun with you. Immunity. I'll actually tell you what that means. They're watching us in Blacksburg, Virginia, Lafayette, Alabama. Not Lafayette, kids. Lafayette, Alabama. Edmond, Oklahoma. Knoxville, Tennessee. Thank you guys so much. I'm telling you, be sure to follow on the socials at Late Kick Josh. I'm going to be on the field in Gainesville, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central this Saturday. The whole new Saturday tour is headed down to the Swamp, and I will be there. The iJosh will be there with me. So there's stuff in that Instagram story on Saturday you only get here. All right, now listen, as I dive into the show tonight, I need to tell you, we're taking the entire end of tonight's show, and we're just going to explain everything about the show. So if you don't care, that's when you can tune out. But for anyone who's ever asked any question about anything I say on this show that makes no sense to you, it's going to be explained as best I can at the end of tonight's show. A bunch of stuff I've never shared with you before. It's going to be very swinging. I have no clue how Colin's going to make a thumbnail for it, if we'll even have video during that part of the show. But I'm going to explain in its entirety what this show is about, because I know a lot of you, tens of thousands of you, have come here just in the last few months, and a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense to you. That's okay. If you wonder why there are random trains over both of my shoulders right now, if you wonder why I never change shirts, if you wonder what immunity even means, what is a JP poll? How does this guy claim to have a tour? What kind of tour? I will explain everything about this show to you. It is your college football show. It is America's college football show, so you deserve answers. All right, here we go. Your thoughts on preseason rankings. Do you hate them? Do you love them? I think every one of you traffic in them. Even if you claim you hate them, you traffic in them. You can set your clock this time of year to the first upset of the season happening, because it's college football. We'll always have upsets. And then as soon as the upset happens, someone's going to run to the nearest message board, nearest social media account, and they're going to yell, "This is why we shouldn't have preseason rankings." And you can also set your clock to me listening to that and yawning because I think it's kind of dumb. They're not dumb. Remember, Mima always taught us, smart people can say casual things. Casual people rarely say smart things. So it was that Florida State got beat as a double-digit favorite last Saturday against Georgia Tech. And then, since some of us had FSU in our preseason top 10, not the esteemed Brandon Walker, but the rest of us lowly serfs had FSU in our top 10, then we got yelled at, and we got schooled, and we got explained to how preseason rankings are irrelevant, and we shouldn't have preseason rankings. And people, the thing about it is they get really worked up about it. And I look and I say, "Colin, show me Chuggy. Give me Chuggy right quick." We have a new mascot. His name is Chuggy. And I would like for you guys to just walk into the therapy session with me. This is Chuggy, our new mascot here. And I want you to take this Chuggy doll, and I want you to point to me on the Chuggy doll where the preseason rankings hurt you. Point. Up here? Down here? Is that where the preseason rankings hurt you? What did preseason rankings ever do to you? Maybe they didn't do anything for you, but what did they ever do to you? The point here is, in what world, if we had an act of Congress, if we had a new executive order handed down from on high, if the letters were written in red and it said, you are not to have preseason rankings, how would that stop preseason rankings? In what world would you ever be stopped from listing teams in order of how good you think they're going to be? In your own mind, you would do it. Thought crime, in your own mind, you would do it. And magazines would do it. And websites would do it. Not just because it generates traffic, but because it generates traffic. But also because it generates interest. We are not trying to cure cancer here. It's not that serious. At the end of the day, we're just trying to figure out whether Texas A&M is a top 20 team or not. We're just trying to figure out whether DeBoer is going to have Alabama in contention at the end of the year or not. Is it an imperfect science? Yes. Is it a science at all? No. But Josh, it just influences too much. That's what I always get told. Because my first question is always, what's wrong with preseason rankings? If you don't like them, move on. Which is not good enough for the haters out there of preseason rankings. So, what's wrong with preseason rankings? I got a lot of friends who hate these things. I've got a lot of buddies who I have lost my voice with arguing about preseason rankings. And I always come back to the same thing. What's wrong with them? What do they hurt? And I always get told the same thing. They create a narrative in people's minds where certain teams are going to be given benefit of the doubt, whereas other teams don't have benefit of the doubt. And it's based on nothing because no football games have been played. And if you're ranked in the top 10 and you lose a game, you're still going to be probably top 25. And if you're outside the top 40 and you win a game, you may have to win another one to jump up inside the top 25. And guess what? You are probably right. And guess what else? It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter because polls don't matter anymore. That's not how we crown national champions. We don't even use computers to crown national champs. However, what we do have is a committee. And that's where it gets a little murky. Because that's when I get told, Josh, the committee gets influenced by these things. Well, if you got a committee full of people who are influenced by media rankings, then you got the wrong people on the committee. So it sounds like misguided anger, in my opinion. You got anger towards preseason polls, when in reality, you should get aggravated at the people who are allowing themselves to be influenced by them. Mind you, these are not normal people. These are committee members. Committee members are supposed to be above the fray. So I bring to you a better idea tonight. My better idea is, when I'm college football commissioner, you should feel free to rank teams. Rank them all you want to. Rank the top 134 if you want to. But also, and here's some advice, feel comfortable pivoting quickly in week one. Because if you really think about it, a week one game, heck, the first half of a week one game should really be worth more in your mind than the previous 6 months. Because all you had the previous 6 months are, you had spring, you had transfer portal, you had media days, so you had a lot of words said, you had a lot of practice reports read, but you didn't see a football game. So you could think all you want to about Florida State. I can think all I want to about how good Florida State is, but if I see Florida State get put on skates, if I don't see the heart in that defensive front, if I see secondary guys thinking instead of reacting, well, then it doesn't really matter what I thought and what I read in the spring and the summer, respectively. So as long as you're willing to do that, rank them. Rank the teams. Here's the trade-off. If you do rank a team too high and they don't fulfill on your expectation, don't be yelling overrated at the coaches. Don't be yelling overrated at the players. This has always been the trade-off. It is rarely adhered to, but this has always been the trade-off that I think should be understood. I've watched it happen forever. Ever since I was a little JP, I've always watched preseason rankings. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't. But then inevitably, there's going to be a team, and it will happen this year too, preseason, top 10 team. They finish outside the top 20. Maybe they finish unranked. And here's what was always wild to me, even as a kid. The sports writer who ranked this team top 10, only for that team to lose 5 games, gets to then turn around and blame the coach and the players and call them overrated, and no one ever asks the sports writer, well, who rated them? The players didn't rate themselves. The coach didn't rank himself and his team number 6. You did, Mr. Sports Writer and Mrs. Sports Writer. Now, that's always been the skill. That's always been the power behind hiding this thing. This is a pen. Or behind having these things. These are keys. you control that, kind of. So I've always thought it may be one's responsibility that if you overrated a team, then call yourself out on it. If you underrated a team, like I did Washington last year, I was wrong on Washington all year. I was wrong on Michigan most of the year. And then they met in the national title game, so I had to get one right at some point. Call yourself out on it. We had fun with it last year. I wore a clown nose on air, guys. I called myself out on it. And then there's a whole different fight. We got a jam-packed show tonight, so I'm about to move on from this. But then there's this whole different fight. Power ratings, which are not rankings, as we all know. Paper pop. Colin, do me a favor. Show me the JP poll. The JP poll is my own power rating. Also has Chuggy on the bottom left-hand corner there. So here's the thing about power ratings. Those things are not going to look the same as rankings afterwards. I mean, surely if I were ranking teams, I wouldn't still have Florida State number 20 right now because they're 0-1 and they didn't prove anything. And Georgia Tech would probably be ranked higher than them because Georgia Tech probably deserves to be ranked higher than them in a merit-based world. But power rating world is a little bit different. And so I put this out the other day, and all I'm trying to do with this is gauge neutral field favorability based off this model here. In other words, these numbers are telling you that even after that game just got played on a neutral field, tomorrow the model here would favor Florida State over Georgia Tech. Well, someone had the audacity to call BS on it. But you know what I had the audacity to do? I had the audacity to call our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. And I talked to the traders over there, the ones who set the lines. And I said, guys, do me a favor. I'm being thrown under the bus here. You run the sports book. What would you make this game if Florida State and Georgia Tech played again this week? Neutral field. Go over to Ireland for all I care. Play it again. What's the line? You know what they said, Jesse and Colin? FanDuel Sportsbook. Game played again today, neutral field. Florida State minus 7.5. Over a touchdown favorite against Georgia Tech if they played again today. And you know what? Georgia Tech may win the game again. So you'd yell at me, see, it didn't matter. And I'd yell at you, that's not what this is about. That's not what any of this is about. The moment they were favored before the game, this power rating was right. So my other piece of advice, if none of this suffices for you, is if you don't like them, don't look at them. Welcome in. We are jam-packed. We got a huge week coming up. We are headed down to Gainesville this Saturday. And Quick Trip is powering our journey down to Gainesville. The whole new Saturday tour is going to be coming to you every Saturday throughout the year. I will announce our week 2 tour destination this Sunday night after week 1 is in the books. And so Miami at Florida, whole new Saturday tour, fueled by Quick Trip. We appreciate it. We've been giving out free gas. And unfortunately, as best friends often do, as anyone in a relationship often does, you fight. And Quick Trip and I had it out today. And I'm not proud of this, but I've got to share it with you. Quick Trip decided that they were just going to take to the public airwaves of social and say, you could go to a wedding on a college football Saturday and the world won't end. Now that, of course, is advocating for a lifestyle that we don't believe in on this show. It's just a moral thing. We don't believe in that lifestyle. You should be free to live it if you want to, but we should not be forced to be drugged to it if we don't want to. Our friends at Quick Trip differed in their opinion. So I asked if we could speak privately about our relationship. I have good news. As of about 45 minutes ago, we did speak privately. And they have given me the power to give away free gas all year. So I told them, are you prepared for me to show favoritism to people who are forced to attend fall weddings this season and favor them in the gas giveaway? And they said, we can't stop you. We've already signed off on it. We can't stop you. So friends, I know some of you are going to be forced into precarious situations at fall weddings on Saturdays this season. And my heart goes out to you. Couldn't be me because I work on Saturdays, but I know not all of you do. You're living normal lives out there. And so this QR code, you can get the Quick Trip app there. You can download their app, period. But I'm telling you right now, I've got a lot of gasoline to give away. And you show me that you're stuck at a wedding on Saturday, you just might get bumped to the front of the line. That's all I'm saying. I can't confirm it. Yes, I can. That's all I'm saying, though. Let's dive into some game predictions. It's time to go. Tuesday nights in the fall. This is how we do it. Colin, I guess even though we just used that graphic, you're about to throw it right back up here in a second. Miami at Florida. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern kick. ESPN. Heat dome parked over the southeast. High pressure has got it intensely hot down here. hey, if they die, they die. 3:30 kickoff in the Swamp. It's going to be a really good one. The whole new Saturday tour in town. And we've been looking forward to this one for a long time. I was pretty much sure we were going to this one in the spring, and now we've locked it in. So the whole new Saturday tour, fueled by Quick Trip, going to be there. I'll be on the sidelines for this one. Copious amounts of sunscreen on the head for obvious reasons. This is the number 13 team and number 21 team in the JP poll. I don't even know what the AP says. It's a pressure cooker of a game. I think there's a bunch more pressure on Billy Napier than there is Mario Cristobal. I think a lot of this has been painted in the media as, boy, losers on the hot seat. Well, Mario's not on the hot seat if he loses this game. Billy Napier is. And so I think there's a lot more. He's got home field advantage here. I think there's a lot more pressure. I think they've got a lot more to prove at Florida. Lower expectations for Florida this year as well. Question for you. How effective will this Miami offense be right out of the gate this year? Week one, this is not Bethune-Cookman. This is not a tune-up game. They got to go into the most hostile environment they'll play in all year. The most hostile environment most people on this roster have played in. This offense at Miami, I think, will eventually be effective this year. But I can't shake this idea from my mind that they could be clunky out of the gate. And that's because this sport's really hard. And then you got the whole helmet communication thing, and you're trying to take that piece on the road. And I listened to Shannon Dawson the other day. I have talked to Shannon Dawson about this, and they can say all they want to about how, well, if Cam Ward can't hear, because it sounds like he's surrounded by jet engines in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, if he can't hear, we got checks for that, we'll be fine. No one's ever fine on the road in college football. The best you do is manage on the road in college football. That's the best you do. And the ones who make it look easy are few and far between. So you got that. You got the whole newness factor of Cam Ward working with a lot of guys, working in an offense for the first time. Ton of skill here. Ton of skill. I think they're surprisingly deep at tailback. I think the offensive line, very, very good unit. They're going to be a very high-level offense, and maybe they come out of the gate firing. I just think how impractical that is going into this environment in week one. So you got the crowd and all of those other things, and that's why running back depth is important here. Jordan Lyle, for example, is a true freshman running back. I think they flipped him from Ohio State. I mean, I think in terms of matchup, he gives them a really good look on the perimeter, getting to the perimeter. Damian Martinez is a guy they got from Oregon State, and he'll be a focal point of the offense. Who knows? 3 or 4 touches for Jordan Lyle may be the difference there. We talked about Elijah Arroyo a whole lot last year at tight end. This year, stay healthy, every finger here crossed. That's a guy along with Restrepo. Sam Brown's a receiver they got from Houston. Got good weapons there. It's another thing to make sure all those weapons just look like that right out of the gate. That's not normal in college football. So if you can do that, you're the exception to the rule. Then the second thing I'm focused on in this game, same question, but for Florida. How effective is the Florida offense right out of the gate? Are there matchups out wide to exploit here? Eugene Wilson, you can make an argument the most skilled wide receiver in this game, either sideline. But at the same time, I could make the argument Florida's about to see the fiercest pass rush maybe they see all year. And this is a team that's going to play a murderer's row of a schedule, but that pass rush Miami brings is about as good as anyone's going to feature this year. Arliss Boardingham at tight end, another good option for Graham Mertz if he has time, if he can get the ball out in time, if they can give him adequate protection. It's one of the great questions around Florida football this year is the offensive line. And the other thing, early in the season, what do we see all the time? In fact, in college football in general, what do we see? We see a lack of the basic skill of tackling in the secondary. Well, can you get your guys on the perimeter? Can you make defensive backs tackle you instead of guys who will do it all day long if you let them on the interior? And the other thing, I was at Florida's opening game last year out in Utah. I was there. And I stood there and I watched the missed field goal and I watched 9 penalties and I watched duplicate numbers on the field extend a drive. And that ended up, I think, in a score. And so procedurally, special teams, where's the edge there? Do we have one? Cam Ward. Cam Ward was prone to turn the ball over up at Washington State. So for everyone who looks at how full the glass could be, right out of the gate, is it that full? Also, Miami carrying 6, 7 new starters on defense. This is an environment that if you don't have everything ratcheted up, you don't have every bolt nut tied really tight, it can rattle you and you can come undone. It's happened to many a team in that building. As you can tell, I've had a really hard time on this game. So, Colin, let's take a look at what the model thinks, and it's really close to what FanDuel thinks. Right now, as we sit here on this Tuesday night, Miami is a 2.5-point favorite. Model agrees. We got Miami -2. I am extremely conflicted in this one because I keep going back to thinking there is more desperation on Florida's side. Obviously, home field advantage. How intimidating an environment that can be, how easily that place rattles you, especially if you've got newness on offense. And then on the other side, I think to myself, Miami's pass rush can take over the game. And there are probably a few too many green arrows pointing north. I think when I look at that matchup both sides for Miami, thought Florida early this morning, shifted to Miami this afternoon, man, by the slimmest of margins. I'm rolling Miami to win and cover. I mean, because the line is under a field goal anyway. I have no feel on that one. You will not have a dime of my money bet on a side. However, there is something I love here. We've actually got a Ramen Noodle Express best bet, and I'm going to add it right now. Pay attention, kids. This could come at any point during the show. Under 54.5, I love in this game. Don't think it gets out of the 40s. And so right now, we are adding to the Ramen Noodle Express Miami versus Florida under 54.5, and that goes in conjunction with Kent State plus 24.5. We got that one the other night. Colorado -9.5. We got that the other night. So I just added Florida and Miami under 54.5. And you know what? Since we're in Nashville, Colin, let's go ahead and add Vandy plus 13.5 as well. So just like that, we're 20 minutes into the show. Some people out there on the streets tell you got to wait to the end of the show. But no, the Ramen Noodle Express is powered by FanDuel now. So it could be anywhere in the show. This gets updated throughout the week. And you got to be following on social because, frankly, a lot of them don't even get revealed on the show. They get revealed on social. Josh Pate CFB on Twitter now. We're working on the Instagram handle. You know how to find me there, though. So Kent State plus 24.5. Colorado -9.5. Vandy plus 13.5. And the Miami at Florida under at 54.5. Those numbers courtesy of and available at FanDuel. All right, look, I know a lot of you have tailgating needs. I know a lot of you are headed out on the road this weekend and throughout the season. Might I not so humbly suggest that you're going to need to make new purchases? Because I know a lot of you don't like storing things, and so a lot of you just go buy it new every year, and I respect it. I absolutely respect the minimalist lifestyle. Not to mention, this stuff's pretty affordable, especially if you head over to Academy Sports and Outdoors. My dream, frankly, I've already said it twice tonight, Jesse, so probably about 3 or 4 more Franklys baked in here somewhere, is just to scan out over the horizon in Gainesville Saturday, or fill in the blank next week, or fill in the blank the week after that, and just see those Academy tents and those Academy chairs and grills that I know were purchased at Academy. Oh, look, there goes a little wayward child. Where are the parents? We don't know, but look at that bicycle, probably purchased at Academy Sports and Outdoors, parents not included. Take care of your children, please. So, Academy.com, if you cannot get there in person, has you set up. That's it. That's all. They have been with us nearly from day one. They make this show free to you, and we humbly just ask that you check them out for things that I know you're going to purchase anyway. Back to the show. Now, here's a fun one. I mean, this game right here is a fun one. I'm not going to it because I think neutral site games to kick off the season are evil, but it's a fun one. You know, Clemson plays Georgia to kick off the season this Saturday in basically the grave of the Georgia Dome, right on top of the grave of the Georgia Dome. You may know it as Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but some of us miss the Georgia Dome. It's a noon kickoff. Georgia's about a 2-touchdown favorite here. 13.5-point favorite. Do you realize we have the number 1 and number 2 active head coaches going at it in terms of win percentage? Do you realize we have 3 active head coaches who have won national championships, and these are 2 of them, and the other one's Mac Brown? Do you realize that according to the 24/7 Sports team talent composite, this is the number 2 and number 5 roster in America? And do you realize after all that, the folks at FanDuel said, yeah, about a 2-touchdown gap between these teams. What happened to Clemson football to warrant such a point spread? Well, it didn't happen overnight, did it? Georgia is, this is a paper popper of a stat, If Georgia wins Saturday, that is their 40th straight regular season win. That would be the most since the Oklahoma teams of the mid-50s. And we all remember how great those teams were. Some of you actually do. Cade Klubnik, quarterback at Clemson, just in general, shaky last year. But away from home, really shaky. At home, not terrible. 6-1, 37 points per game last year. Points per game is not necessarily a quarterback stat. I understand that. But broad strokes purposes, they scored 37 per game at home. And he was 14-3 touchdown to interception rate. On the road or neutral site, 3-3, win and loss. 21.5 points per game, 5-6 touchdown to INT. Suffice it to say, a different player. And remember, it was the Duke game that kicked all this off last year. And they turned the ball over every which way imaginable. And Mike Elko and Duke beat them. And there are few truths in an uncertain world, but one of them is the level of competition is going to step up a little bit from Duke here. All due respect to Duke. But it's year 2 under Garrett Riley. You know, it's year 2 with Cade Klubnik being the starter here. We got Bryant Wesco. We got TJ Moore at receiver. And I'm not saying that mockingly. I expect a lot from those guys. It's just that I'm counting on true freshman receivers against Georgia's secondary. So, not the most favorable matchup in the world there. But if Georgia can't get home, if that pass rush can't get home, maybe, just maybe, there's an early spark there combined with the whole year 2 synergy of quarterback and OC. Maybe. It's not a poverty roster. You know, a lot of people are painting this as a blowout waiting to happen. Maybe it is. But it's still Clemson football, guys. I just want to remind you, it's still a pretty prideful program up there that recruits pretty well. Dabo Swinney, man. You know, it used to be, not too long ago actually, that they used to find themselves in this spot. They relished this spot. It was called Little Old Clemson. I always thought it was kind of dumb because I knew even at the time Clemson doesn't need to be an underdog to much of anyone. Dabo 12-1 against the spread as a dog of 5+ points, by the way. So he used to find himself in this spot a lot. They always covered. Sometimes they won. So as for matchups, though, forget about the past. As for the here and now, the Georgia offensive line and quarterback situation against Clemson's pass defense is a pretty significant edge to Georgia. A lot of edges to Georgia in this game, but Clemson is replacing 6 of 8 on defense, especially in the secondary especially, and Georgia's deep with weapons. There may not be an All-American receiver on this team. There may not be an All-American tight end on this team. They are deep and talented with guys that can play at a high level. Collectively, it's probably the deepest stable of pass catchers they've had in quite a while. I know you think, oh, they lost Bowers. What are they going to do at tight end? Backfill very effectively with multiple players. That's what they're going to do. They're going to show you they had guys on the roster last year that would have started anywhere else at that position. That's what they're going to do at tight end. Georgia also can win running the football, you know, even if what I just said wasn't true. Even if they were slightly more one-dimensional, they could still win this game running the ball. Now, Clemson folks listen to that and say, against our front? Okay, show it. Well, this may be the best offensive line you face all year at Clemson. So, really good matchup there. UGA O-line, Clemson D-line, really good matchup. I come back to this. Every time I watch Saban's Bama back in the day, Kirby's Georgia, don't know that I can put anyone else in that category. They are not wobbly when they come out of the gate. Doesn't mean they're not beatable, but they're not wobbly. They don't hand games over, ever. They're always prepared. So you got to outplay them. And hardly anyone ever does, period. But out of the gate especially, you're always like, oh, we want to get them early. No, you just don't want to get them. You really just don't want to get them. Because Georgia, also pretty good lately against ranked teams, 10-3 against the spread in that category. So let's just take a look. We see what the FanDuel number is. We see Georgia's favored by 13.5. The model agrees. We are right in line. We think these are very tight lines for week 1. Georgia minus 14 is what our model has. And, man, I think it's probably right. I think around 2 touchdowns is the gap we see here right now. I'm taking Georgia to win. I'm going to take Clemson to cover. I envision like a 10-point Georgia win in my mind. Look, maybe Georgia does to them what they did to Oregon a few years ago. That is still a very talented program at Clemson. And I got a hard time with all that pressure built up and the way last season ended. and how much urgency and how much retrospective has been put on that team and how much of a fine-tooth comb has been run through it by that staff, picturing them getting run out of the building in week one is one that's not impossible, but it's uncomfortable on the backside if it does happen, especially with the way last year started and knowing how imperative a fast start is for them this year. Something tells me those folks at Clemson will find a way to keep it close. Something tells me the overall caliber of athlete on that team's probably being disrespected just a little bit. Still take Georgia to win, though. Oh, by the way, how about the Klatt collab the other day? How about that? I've still got a weak voice because, Colin, you and I stayed here. Jesse bailed. You and I stayed here till like 9:30 Sunday night, Central Time, because our buddy Joel Klatt, clean out on the West Coast, sun's still out where he was, said, hey, man, come on the show. Let's just chop it up. And he opened the door and we walked through. That was really good. It's over on his channel, the Joel Klatt's College Football Show, or the Joel Klatt Show. I don't think he has college football in there. So he said something. I'm going to reiterate it. You know, it's a weird thing, the way media used to work versus the way it works now. Oh, everyone used to talk about competition, and they still do. The ones who don't get this space talk about competition. Most folks who talk about competition don't have the slightest clue how competition works, by the way. So in the olden days, before the on-demand world arrived, if a guy like Klatt had a show and I had a show, we would be on radio or TV, and there would be no DVR. There would be no way to record it. And so if he's on at 3 and I'm on at 3, every viewer he gets is one I don't get. That is the true cutthroat nature of audience competition. Nowadays, it's on demand. Most of you who watch this show probably watch his as well. There is a huge, we see the data. There's a massive Venn diagram overlap of our audiences. But that's how you grow the space. The goal is to grow the space. And so I was more than happy to do that. We had him on our show last Christmas or thereabouts. And plus, Klatt's a great guy. I mean, playoff opinions notwithstanding. Joel Klatt's a wonderful guy, so I love doing that with him. A lot of you have asked us to do more of that. I'd be happy to. It's got to be the right situation, but I'd be happy to. But, yeah, we love doing that. So it's over on his channel right now if you want to check that out. Oh, you know what else is out there? Moving on in the show here. You know what else is out there? The Connor Stalions documentary came out early this morning on Netflix, and I dutifully watched it for you. Now, I would say there are going to be some spoilers in this, but I don't think it's like a movie. This is not like when I talked about Twisters on air and I said, no spoilers. There's not really anything to spoil. Guys, if you've been paying attention, there's not really much in this documentary that you wouldn't have already been aware of. I think what you learn is you learn a lot about who Connor Stalions is, but I'm just telling you, I hinted at this several times over the past couple of months. I told you everything the NCAA was doing and their timeline was centered around when this documentary was going to come out. And I was intentionally guarded in my wording because what I couldn't tell you yet is what I knew. I knew the NCAA had interviewed him for several hours. I knew that. I also knew he recorded the entire thing, and that wasn't public knowledge. And so I didn't know what was on it. I had no clue. It could have been bombshells. It could have been a total firecracker that fizzles. But I knew the NCAA wasn't used to that. He was sitting on a piece of information that he was going to probably put in that documentary, and sure enough, he did. And I knew that made them uncomfortable because they didn't know what he was going to run with. Now, as it turns out, there wasn't really anything jaw-dropping, but you did get to see a Zoom meeting. You got to be taken behind the curtain on an NCAA investigation. And really, in general, it's every bit as unimpressive as you would expect the NCAA investigation to be. I'm going to be honest with you. It is my working theory that they probably had a lot of footage that could have made the NCAA look a lot worse, but it didn't serve the purpose of the documentary. I'm just telling you, these are, you picture an NCAA investigation, and your theater of the mind kicks in, and you're thinking like a dark room, and there's haze and cigarette smoke, and a guy's got his sleeves rolled up, and everyone's sweating like it's 93 degrees in the room, and there's really dimly lit setting. There's one light overhead, and there's an ashtray here, and that is not it. That is not it. It's just a bunch of career bureaucrats fumbling over notes and pre-prepared statements and questions, and the minute you throw them off their game, it's over. That's an NCAA investigation. So, I mean, I don't look, if Ryan Day went and got his brother's private investigation firm to go dig up dirt because the NCAA can't take a leak without getting the front of their pants wet, I would have done the same thing. It was one of the big allegations tossed around in this documentary. Well, Ryan Day and Ohio State are behind this. If they didn't obtain the information illegally, I couldn't care less. Because I'm telling you, I would have done the same thing. Because if I thought something wrong had been done to me, and these jokers in Indianapolis aren't going to do anything, I'll go do something. The other part of this, I saw everyone who watched this morning take to their various feeds to say the same thing. Oh my goodness, Jim Harbaugh knew. Well, of course he knew. This is not news. It's news if he admits it, which he's not going to do, but of course Jim Harbaugh knew. What can you prove? Probably nothing. Probably nothing. There was nothing that was revealed in this that revealed Jim Harbaugh knew anything other than your common sense kicking in. But your common sense should have already kicked in. Harbaugh's a smart guy. Harbaugh's a very cerebral guy. Jim Harbaugh is a guy capable of leading NFL franchises and leading major college football programs to the brink of Super Bowls or to national championships, and's got his hand on everything. To ask me to believe Jim Harbaugh didn't know what was going on is to ask me to believe he's stupid. Jim Harbaugh's not stupid. So long before I pressed play on this documentary, my common sense had kicked in and pretty well figured out, yeah, Harbaugh knew. What can I prove? What can you prove? Did you, for those of you who haven't watched this, I want you to pay attention to Dan Wetzel over at, I believe Wetzel's at Yahoo Sports. He's included in this. There's this little throwaway line. I didn't see anyone talking about this afterwards, but this is what raised my eyebrows a little bit. Wetzel revealed he filed Freedom of Information Act requests with a number of different entities related to sign stealing. And Wetzel is just, there's a nice little audio bed under it. You can tell they're about to turn the chapter to the next segment of the documentary, and Wetzel just kind of says, yeah, you can nail Clemson, you can nail Utah, you can nail several other programs if you wanted to, and dong, and it's just move on. And I'm like, can someone please hand the mic back to Dan Wetzel? What else is he talking about? Daniel, not Cannell, Daniel Wetzel. What else do you know, sir? Which is why I always keep coming back to the same thing. As far as what's been presented in the court of public opinion and whatnot, as far as what's been presented in media, the reason I haven't gotten too terribly worked up about it is not because wrongdoing wasn't done. Of course it was done. I think it was done. I mean, I think that they did things that were against the rules, but it doesn't go above and beyond what we hear. Do you have any idea the kind of rumors? Clemson, it was good Wetzel pointed it out. Dude, you could write a novel about the rumors that exist about Brent Venables when he was at Clemson and what they did in the way of sign stealing. And the follow-up is, okay, well, was it legal? Was it illegal? I don't know, because I don't know the details. I'm just telling you rumors exist. So what goes above and beyond? Like what am I supposed to believe is going to be the bomb that gets dropped on Michigan's head here? Not answered in this documentary. What was answered is, you finally got to meet Connor Stalions. Dude sat right there on camera, and his mom and his dad and friends, shout out to our buddy Isaiah Hole, just sat there on camera and answered questions. And it's good. It was good for Connor Stalions that he did that, because that's the one thing I wondered, and I assumed he would do, but I wondered, like, is he going to introduce people to himself? Because if you've just followed this story, you picture Connor Stalions as some clown, pariah, loser, fanboy, sycophant. That's not him. He is a big fan of Michigan, but the dude is razor sharp. Went to the Naval Academy, very cerebral guy in his own right, perfectly cut out to exist in that world. And, well-spoken, represented himself well, just really passionate, and found himself a niche, found himself an in into college football, extremely intelligent, and he applied it, and he got himself into a really, really, as it turns out, extremely high-level role at the University of Michigan. Did I get the whole story from Connor Stalions? It's unlikely. Connor Stalions loves Michigan. Therefore, that makes him an unmotivated truth teller. In other words, I don't doubt that I got his story. Did I get the entire story? I probably didn't. I think he told a bald-faced lie on this documentary when he was talking about the Central Michigan game. Colin, by the way, do we have the Pate State Investigates footage? Because I'm still contemplating legal action against Netflix. This right here is a screenshot. I screenshot my screen when I was watching this documentary this morning. Screenshot is the past tense of screenshot, by the way. And do you see what they did to your boy here? Oh, they put the screenshot from Twitter. So Netflix was fine with doing that. They turned me into Josh P., not my full name. And what did they make me? Ex-user Josh? That's what they made my handle? Like, do we have no dignity and no class in this world? Is this what society has come to? In the words of Nick Saban, is this what we want college football to be? Shame on you people. You have 24 hours. You always give them an ultimatum. Kevin Malone rule. Michael Scott rule. You have 24 hours. So, yeah, there was a lot of stones thrown at Ryan Day. I don't care. A lot of stones thrown back at Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan program. I do care, but I'm going to need to see a whole lot more than what this documentary showed and what's been presented in the media so far. My opinion is unchanged on this. My opinion is exactly this. As it stands right now, I think Michigan will be punished punitively and financially. I think they'll suffer a big fine from this based on what I've seen so far. I am totally open to any additional information that comes out changing my mind, but I don't have that in front of me. And I cannot go over to Bucknuts or 11 Warriors. I cannot wade through all that and treat that as the gospel. If it ends up being true, it's a slippery slope when you scan those Ohio State message boards right now. If a fraction of that is true, we're talking about a different ball game. We're talking about a wrecking ball headed towards the Michigan program. I don't know that any of that's true. So history has told me, if it's true, that's probably not where it'll surface. It'll probably come out of nowhere. You got to bring me more. Got to bring me more than that. It's well worth watching, though. Documentary is well done. They did an excellent job producing it. It's just, it didn't leave a crater in the ground, shall I say. They're watching us in Conyers, Georgia. Someone's watching us in Bangkok, Thailand, and they said immunity after Bangkok in the chat. So they're a real one. Someone's watching us in Louisville, Kentucky, and State College, Pennsylvania. Thank you guys so much. Look what's back tonight, Jesse. The Chalice of Supremacy is back because it will have use later in the show. Welcome back, buddy. It's time to dive back into these games. This game that I'm about to get to was runner-up for the whole new Saturday tour. We almost went to this one. And by the way, we got a big audience. Just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That's all I need you to do. Show is free. We never have to put it behind a paywall. It's because you guys do a great job of subscribing to the YouTube channel, which we own now. It's ours. And subscribing to the podcast feed, which is ours now. Thank you, because you made that possible. Please just continue to do what you've been doing and recruit 5 of your friends to do the same. So here we go. What a week 1 game in College Station. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Hat tip Notre Dame and anyone who has the stones to schedule big time. Every game's out of conference for them, but you get what I mean. Big time opponents in week 1 and to go on the road and do it. Hat tip Notre Dame. All right. Now, how's Notre Dame going to find a way to win this game? You're not going to see many folks picking Notre Dame. They're a 2.5-point dog. And yet it feels like the Clemson-Georgia game in terms of looking at, straight-up picks to win this thing. Notre Dame, paper popper of a stat here, maybe. 6 of their last 7 games versus the SEC decided by 1 score. A&M, 0-4 in 1-score games last year. A&M, 6-1 at home last year, 0-4 on the road. Make of all that what you will. Texas A&M's defensive front against Notre Dame's offensive line by 10 miles is the matchup everyone will talk about most. Coming into this one, they should. The Notre Dame offensive line, get ready to hear this stat all week, 6 combined starts on this offensive line. They are plugging a true freshman in all likelihood, at left tackle against Nick Scorton. And Kyle Field. Just to add insult to injury, you get 110,000 and you get one of the best edge rushers in the game, and you were in high school 4 months ago. So let's have fun with that. The rotation opposite of Nick Scorton, of just former 4- and 5-star talent all over the place. People have lost their minds if they think Mike Elko is having to rebuild or start over at A&M. Shamar Stewart is still here. DJ Hicks is still here. Shamar Turner, Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy. These are all former 5-star guys who will start or play significant minutes for Texas A&M Saturday night against guys who are going to be baptized in the whitest hot of fires imaginable this sport offers. Doesn't mean they can't win, though. Just means it's going to be really tough there. Riley Leonard is the quarterback at Notre Dame now. And Riley Leonard was the quarterback at Duke last year. His head coach was Mike Elko, who is now the head coach at Texas A&M. Who does that favor? I'm going to leave that up to you. I will tell you, this is the 5th Week 1 quarterback Notre Dame has had in the last 5 years. So not a lot of consistency in that front. There are plays to be made against this A&M secondary. There are probably plays to be made. Chris Mitchell's a transfer receiver they got from FIU, 1,000-yard guy last year. Do you have time? Can that offensive line give him any time? It won't consistently be there. But in a game low scoring, you see the total here at FanDuel, it's 46.5. In a game that figures to be this low scoring, you know as well as I do what these games look like. It looks very plodding and very slow and 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And then all of a sudden someone hits a slot receiver and he shakes one tackle and gets loose down the sideline. Boom, he's inside the 5, 1st and goal, gain of 46, and the game just turned. And the quarterback was 1 for his last 8 for 12 yards. But it doesn't matter because that one play just sprung him, got him down in the red zone. They tack on 7. That's the difference in a game that ends 23-20. That's the way this game probably plays out. So I don't expect a consistent barrage in the passing attack. Can they hit a few of them? And in the process, can they avoid turning the ball over? Connor Wigman's season, man. Quarterback there for Texas A&M. It's Connor Wigman's season, and it's Connor Wigman's season. They're taking sort of a running back by committee approach, it feels like, at Texas A&M. This Notre Dame defensive line and that linebacker core, well, I'll tell you, the secondary as well. I trust them. Look, they can clamp down on Texas A&M as well. Don't think they can't. I've heard some people break this game down and just talk about how many insurmountable edges A&M has. These are not insurmountable edges. You got one that's a big one, but look, Notre Dame could throw the crowbar in A&M's offensive bicycle spokes as well. So don't think it's impossible to go to the half here with a 9-6 kind of game. That's very possible. Offensive line play last year at A&M was bad in pass pro. So if you got all that fixed, and they're well on their way to doing it because they hired the right guys, but if you've got all that fixed, that's wonderful. You're going to have to prove to me that you did that over the course of one spring and summer and fall. Lengthy drives, like I said, very unlikely. 2 or 3 explosive plays, I think, decide this. Great offensive coordinator matchup here. Colin Klein. Elko went and hired Colin Klein. And you notice they went and got a few tight ends out of the transfer portal. Really good at using those guys. And then you got Mike Denbrock, who was last seen winning a Heisman with Jaden Daniels, and he's up at Notre Dame now. Colin, let's take a look at what the model thinks. We see FanDuel right now has A&M minus 2.5. The model has it a little tighter than that. Got A&M minus 1. Now, I know I just made the case for Notre Dame. I didn't make a good enough case. I think A&M is going to win the game. I think they're going to cover. I went on CBS Sports HQ earlier this week, and I said, I think the winner of this game will make the playoff. Winner of this game may make the playoff, guys. So if I got Texas A&M winning it, and I'm looking at the odds to win the whole thing right now, and A&M is kind of sort of up there, I'm just saying we're going to learn a lot about A&M come Saturday. And I think a lot of people are going to realize the cupboard wasn't nearly as bare as it felt. A little shot of CEO, a little shot of organization, and a shot of newness may have been just what the doctor ordered at Texas A&M. Cooper Pategna put out the 24/7 Sports Team Talent Composite the other day. A&M 7th. 7th most talented roster in the country. Not a long way off. Not a long way off at all. He immediately upgraded it at Duke. Immediately. Because if you've got some of the right ingredients in the kitchen and you just had a know-nothing in there and they hadn't made a good meal, sometimes that threw Jimbo under the bus a little bit too much. But if you bring a better chef in, sometimes he can make you a little bit better meal without having to go to the store. That's about as meemaw as I can get on it. Let's move right along. I have to do a little bit of soul searching here. Kind of, sort of. So, Colin, show me that FSU tweet for me. I was going to do this the other night, but I wanted to let it simmer a little bit more. So, John hit me up. He said, what are the expectations for Florida State now following their loss to Georgia Tech? Lower, John, lower. I feel like this is an 8 or a 9 win team. I don't feel like they're a playoff team. I don't think they'll play for the ACC championship right now. And so that means I've changed my feel on the team. But I think I got some of this stuff wrong the other night. Not necessarily the game. We saw the game. Florida State lost to Georgia Tech. But I think in the aftermath, my understanding of what happened and why some of us got misled, why the product on the field didn't match what we expected. I'm going to be honest, I think I was a little bit wrong on it. So I'm going to remind you what I said on the show the other night. And a lot of this particular clip that Colin's going to play in a second, it circulated around Twitter and Instagram. And apparently some folks took it the wrong way. So here's what I said, and then I'm going to explain to you why I think some of this may have been a little inaccurate. They were just regurgitating intel that people inside the program gave them. Now that is a little more alarming because that means folks inside Florida State thought they had the best defensive line in the country. Folks inside Florida State, folks who, do football for a living, those folks thought that they were going to dominate up front. Those folks thought that line of scrimmage and run game were going to be their bread and butter here. And if DJ's not great, if DJ can't stretch the field vertically, that's okay. We'll just rock fight this thing early, and then we'll give our offense time to round into form. And that is a little more alarming because that paints a picture of a coaching staff that may not have a firm grasp on what the football team was. So here's the deal. Mike Norvell does about as good a job as any coach in the country of giving open access to the media to Florida State practices. It's like the antithesis of what Mario's doing at Miami right now, where you have to get a court order to get in there. And so when I said that the other night, a lot of people took that to mean I was suggesting people who cover Florida State misled their subscribers or their readers or their viewers. Not that at all. What I was saying was I thought some of the information they had gotten from coaches was bad information. They had then passed that on, and it was kind of more on the people inside the program that had misled folks in the media. Well, I don't think that's what happened. I did a whole lot more digging on this today. Appreciate some folks reaching out to me, both on the media side and the NFL side. I think what happened is folks from the media side and folks from the NFL side made their way through Tallahassee throughout the fall, and they saw exactly what they saw. They saw a ton of talent. They saw a ton of speed. They saw size. They saw length. They saw athleticism. They saw explosiveness. They saw physical traits. And the good thing about talent is you got to have it. You got to have talent to win. But talent does not equal a football player. There's a lot more that goes into making a good football player than just having a lot of talent. And I think what folks saw was the same thing you and I would see. If we went to a Florida State practice down there, we would have seen freak shows. We would have seen aliens. We would have seen guys who look like maybe a handful of other programs in the country have in plentiful enough supply to put him on a 1 or 2 deep. And we would have said, this team right here is going to be serious again this year. And we would have thought that because your eyeballs look at humans of that size moving that fast, and your eyeballs say, who's beating them? Football players are beating them. Florida State has more talented players than Georgia Tech. Florida State didn't have better football players than Georgia Tech. That's the real problem. That's the real alarming part. Now, if they played again this week, Florida State may win the game. But they weren't ready. As a football team, the football players weren't ready to play football. And it's always a concern at any major program. Georgia, Florida State, everywhere. Do you count on that spear on the helmet to just get rolled out on the field and do the work for you? Now, Georgia, they don't deal with that because they got a culture there. At Bama, at Ohio State, at Michigan, they don't deal with that. I guarantee at Oregon they won't deal with that because there's a culture of competition there where folks understand that's not how it works. Do they have that at Florida State? Mixed results right now. Very mixed results. The mind matters a lot. The heart matters a lot. Talent matters, but talent doesn't make a football player. You mix that talent and you mix that brain and awareness and attentiveness to detail and how you use it, and you mix heart in. The heart's the hardest part. The heart, we would never, an evaluator at the NFL level would never be able to gauge heart by just probably going and watching a practice. You may get anecdotal stuff here and there, but you know what you got to have? You got to have 3rd and 3 over in Ireland against a team full of engineering majors. That's what you need. I don't say that pejoratively. I say that knowing full well Florida State should have an edge in all those categories over Georgia Tech, and they didn't, and it's their fault. It's no one else's. Georgia Tech, hats off for winning the game. That's on you, Florida State. That's on the football players or lack thereof at Florida State. Now, look, it doesn't have to be anything other than a lesson. Like, it could be that the team goes on to finish 11-1, and they go to Charlotte, and they atone for it all. They've still got the requisite talent to get the job done. Do they have the football players to get the job done? So I don't think it was folks down there got misled by intel as much as folks went to practice and saw with their own eyes how relatively loaded the roster still is, but their eyes deceived them because when it came time to play football games, guys were probably more cut out for the combine and Instagram than they were to go win a football game. And it's funny I mentioned Instagram because half of them have taken their profiles down. Bunch of alphas down there in Tallahassee right now. Let's move on. Your boy here never criticizes anyone, so let's move on. Penn State at West Virginia, big noon kickoff. Jesse, are you nervous? You got to go on the road here. It's Morgantown. Jesse likes this matchup. Producer Jesse likes this matchup. So let's just say this out loud. So the game's down to 8.5 now. Penn State at FanDuel favored by 8.5. Hats off, again, out of conference, week 1 game. Very intriguing. We got Gus and Joel on the call here. Penn State, if we say it out loud, extremely hostile environment here. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator on the road. All the makings, right? All the makings. Well, let's dive in because it feels like a terrible matchup for West Virginia once you dive in a little bit. Last year, I had a bad hiccup. Not West Virginia. They actually had a good year last year. I had a bad hiccup there. Very run-heavy team. Struggled to throw the ball. Penn State, they are very veteran inside on this defensive line. They have full-grown men there. They got a really good pair of edge guys. Zach Frazier was the center in this game last year that gave Penn State some problems. He's not there anymore. And so I'm sitting there looking and I'm saying, I don't think they're going to run it on Penn State. Can they throw it on them? Can Garrett Green sync up with new receivers? These are transfer receivers. I mean, Jaden Bray, for example. Can he sync up with him? This was about a 54-55% completion guy last year. They're going to need to throw the ball on Penn State to win it. Everyone's focused on these new corners at Penn State. Well, first off, even if they haven't fully settled in, we think they have, but even if they haven't, is this the team to expose that? Now, Josh, Drew Aller didn't throw the ball well last year either. Well, against Ohio State he didn't. Against Michigan he didn't. Drew Aller threw for 325 and 3 touchdowns against West Virginia last year. So this was the one where he did go off. I think it was his first career start too. So does that pass game click immediately? We got Andy Koldenicki in there, new offensive coordinator. I don't think it's a huge key even if it doesn't. Maybe they throw the ball well, but even if they don't, should this not be the game, or a game, where Katron Allen and Nick Singleton just kind of lean on West Virginia? Shouldn't they be able to go in there and take that crowd out of the game? Yes, the answer is they should. On this paper, games were played on this, they should. Will they be able to? West Virginia could have something to say about this on third down. If they can earn the right to rush the passer. 1st and 10, 2nd and 8, 3rd and 6. If you can get to 3rd and long, obvious passing downs, then you've earned the right to expose whether they've backfilled for Olu Fashanu at left tackle. He's off to the NFL now, so maybe there's a vulnerability there you can take advantage of. They led the Big 12 in sacks last year at West Virginia. But you got to get there. And I think they're going to have a tough time getting them in those situations. Penn State wants to run it. Stylistically, the strength for West Virginia, strength for Penn State, they don't match up in a way where it makes me feel overly confident for West Virginia here. So let's take a look at what the model thinks. The model is even more bullish. This number's come down. There's been money that came in on West Virginia because this was Penn State minus 10.5, and now it's down to Penn State minus 8.5. The model liked where the number was originally. We've got Penn State minus 10. I thought about it, guys. I want to let you know I thought about it, but I am going to go with Penn State to win, Penn State to cover. It's treacherous, but let me just remind you, West Virginia 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games against ranked teams. And look, I don't do that a whole lot. The trends, I don't really believe in trends all that much. Anecdotally, I'll throw it out there early in the season because we don't have in-season stats to go off of yet. All these numbers, by the way, available courtesy of our friends over at FanDuel, because they are the exclusive odds provider of Josh Pate's College Football Show and Pate State University here. I mean, how about that earlier today? Just kind of able to toss out a hypothetical number from FanDuel. You know what that's going to do for the JP poll? I would shake hands with this monitor right now if I could. So I need to tell you guys a couple of things. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of offers right here. And then if you are so inclined, I'll let you know how to get signed up. This is going to take like 30 seconds. Right now, in the odds market at FanDuel, you can go to the playoffs, and every one of these big teams, you can bet whether they'll make it or they'll miss it. Just 12-team playoff. Georgia, will they be in, will they not be in? You get a 25% profit boost on that. So if you bet no and Georgia doesn't make it, if you bet yes and they do make it, you up your winnings by 25%. That expires September 3rd. So get that in now. Also, this weekend, Notre Dame A&M, Clemson, Georgia, USC, LSU, Boston College, FSU, you bet those games, 50% profit boost if you win. I feel like Santa Claus. So that expires at kickoff. You got to get those bets in before kickoff. You can sign up right now and let them know we sent you by using this QR code right there. Or if you're just listening and you don't feel like the QR code, fanduel.com/CFB promotion. That's how you help us. That's how they know we sent you. Obviously, if you're already signed up, just go have at it. And if you don't feel like betting, don't bet. And please, if you can't afford to do it, do not bet. Listen to Uncle Josh here. Some of us had to learn the hard way back in the day. Do not bet. This has been a good show. Show's not over. The football part of the show is over. So I need to put my handy dandy lip balm on. You guys have been asking me to do what I'm about to do for like 2 years, and I figured this is as good a time as any. Please, if you're watching, make sure you're subscribed. If you're listening, make sure you're subscribed. Okay, Colin, this is going to be rambling incoherence. We don't have any other camera shots to go to because our new studio is not ready yet, so just stick on me here. This show's pretty unique. There's a lot of inside jokes on this show. This show makes no sense if you just walk in off the street. So I figured we would take time tonight to explain this show. And in the future, if you have a buddy or you have any cousin or anything that starts watching the show and they're asking you, what does this mean? What does that mean? You direct them to this segment and this segment alone because I'll explain everything. We just changed the name of the show like 24 hours ago. It used to be Late Kick. Now it is Josh Pate's College Football Show. We did that because I just wrapped up negotiations with CBS. They were great about it. I'm staying at CBS. We have signed an extension there. And in turn, I own the YouTube channel and I own the podcast feed. It is now appropriately named Josh Pate's College Football Show. Some of you questioned why change the title. It's a legal thing. So that's why this show is called what it's called. We air Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night. We are as live can be. I will go over to the live chat right now, and I will put in, let's just put a smiley face. There you go. All right, we prove we're live. We're on the road every week in the fall. We have our own tour that we're allowed to do because great partners like Quick Trip come in and make it possible. We had the Renaissance Tour in 2021. We had the Every Given Saturday Tour in 2022. The Once Upon a Saturday Tour last year, and this year we have the whole new Saturday Tour. We're big fans of Saturday on the show. I get to handpick which game we go to, and that's really fun. I wear a white T-shirt for every show that we do on air, and I do that because back in the day, I was working in local television, and I had a big argument with a news director of mine one day because I was doing a college football show, and I thought it was really dumb to have to wear a suit to talk about sports on TV. He disagreed. I was working on his dime. And so at the time, I told people, if I ever make it big, I am going to go above and beyond to prove that people could not care less what you wear. And in fact, it appeals to them more if you just dress down because we're not talking about neurosurgery here. We're talking about Texas A&M versus Notre Dame and whether Notre Dame's offensive line can stand up. Why would I wear anything more than a T-shirt? Well, now that we got our own show here, I just wear the same thing every show. And you know what? It's the #1 college football show in the space anyway. So it turns out you guys don't need to see people wear $4,000 suits to talk about football. We've got our own power ratings on this show. We call them the JP poll. It is a Vegas odds-making neutral field favorability type poll. It's not a ranking. I have to explain this every week. One of the big inside jokes on the show is no matter how many times I explain it, as soon as we post it on social, people will lose their minds. The people who know the least about it will talk the most about it. I can count on you guys to come in and defend me. But the running joke is, well, they're not rankings. How can you have Florida State ranked above Georgia Tech? I don't. They're not rankings. There is a difference between the two. The Ramen Noodle Express represents our official best bets that we release every week, now powered by FanDuel, the exclusive odds provider of our show. And the Ramen Noodle Express is named what it's named because when I was doing local radio in Columbus, Georgia back in 2012, 2013, there was a guy who called in one day, and I hope he's still with us, and I hope he's still solvent, and he claimed that he needed some betting picks. We gave them to him. It was only after we gave them to him that he, in a very dead serious Harvey Updike-esque manner, told us, I hope you guys hit on these. My children need this. They will have to eat ramen noodles this week if you don't. He was not joking, as it turns out. Now, we did okay that week. I cannot vouch for what happened to him. I'm pretty sure that Child Protective Services have long since taken care of the children. But that is why we call the best bets the Ramen Noodle Express. On Friday nights, I am on the road. This Friday night, I will be in a hotel in either Jacksonville or Gainesville. About 10 or so, I will take this phone, which has this little kickstand on the back of it. I will prop it up on a nightstand somewhere in a hotel. Don't worry. It's not going south, guys. You can keep the kids listening. And I will do what we call Friday Night Lines. And that's where I will fire Instagram Live up at Late Kick Josh. Make sure you're following. That's the only platform we do this on. And I will talk with you guys via the live chat for about 20 or 30 minutes. And I will have this computer here pulled up. And I will have our model pulled up. And we have a number on every college football game that's going to be played. Most of the games I will not be betting on. I'll let you know the ones I am betting on. But you guys are interested in them. And so I will let you know what the model thinks about the games you're interested in that I didn't cover on the show and that I'm not betting myself. Friday Night Lines is probably some of the most fun content that we produce all year. We do it every week. It's live. It's very unfiltered. It's not approved by management. It is brought to you by FanDuel. And we do it on Friday night. And it will premiere for the 2024 season this Friday night. I'm really into storm chasing. There are a lot of storm chasing themes woven into the show. It is my biggest hobby. I do it in the spring. Frequently, we have to change the airing of the show in the spring because I'm on the road chasing tornadoes. I have seen 14 of them in person. This last spring was particularly active. I love trains. I grew up loving trains. I am not a little kid anymore, but I still love trains like I did when I was a little kid. So when we made our fictitious university, we made our mascot the Freights, the Pate State Freights. Pate State, if you didn't catch that, is the fictitious university we just kind of made up because if we're going to be a college football show and we believe in branding, I figured, why not have our own fictitious university? Why not call it Pate State? It rhymes and everything. Why not get ourselves a mascot? Why not get ourselves a secondary mascot? Look, there's Chuggy right there. Chuggy's at the bottom of the screen. So our biggest rival is management. But lately, management has really stuck his neck out for us, so it's conflicted. It's kind of a love-hate relationship, and you know he's long since left work. He's probably well deep in Pinot Noir by this time of night. So I'll send this to him tomorrow morning. I'm not sure the signal makes it through the gate down there in his neighborhood anyway. But management is a frequent contributor to the show. We don't let him represent himself, so I speak for him on the show. This is a chalice of supremacy. It is the most sacred thing that we have tangibly on this show. I sip a mysterious liquid out of this chalice sometimes. As such, you cannot buy one of those. The Pate State store will be opening up again very, very soon, but those will not be in there. One of you asked me today, can I buy a chalice of supremacy? You cannot. You can win one. You can earn one. There are no set rules, but if you do something that goes above and beyond to promote this show publicly somehow, if you just do something incredible, save someone from a burning building, etc., I will send you a chalice of supremacy. We've sent out about, Jesse, about 100 to 150 chalice, which is the plural of chalice, of supremacy. You never know when it's going to happen. A couple of years ago, a bunch of you bombed College Game Day, and you held up Pate State signs behind Herb Street and Desmond and Reese and whatnot, and I sent out several chalice. You also got us banned from College Game Day. Paper Pop, Anytime I do this on the air, it just means business. When we play the Sarah McLachlan music in the background, it is meant for the Sarah McLachlan special. And this Sunday, actually for the first time this season, we will have the Sarah McLachlan special of the week. And the Sarah McLachlan special of the week is when one of your teams has so thoroughly been splattered or body bagged or had the walls painted with their blood and just flat out put to sleep that it warrants some soft, sad, somber piano music as I read a stat line, maybe even a padlock stat. A padlock stat is a stat that, if you knew it beforehand, would give you a full indicator as to how the game was going to go. You hear me say the word immunity on the show a lot. Longtime viewers of The Office are very familiar with "that's what she said" jokes. It's very sophomoric, but we also built ourselves a mechanism in our social circle to where if we say the word immunity before we say something like, "wow, that's big," you cannot hit us with a "that's what she said." And so I will randomly weave it into every show, and don't apologize for it. Casuals are people who aren't like us. I don't use the word so much anymore because a lot of people started abusing the word casual and misusing the word casual, and then it became kind of cringy. But the theory of a casual is the people who think you are what your record says you are, the people who are totally happy with having Saturday fall weddings and getting mad at you if you think college football is more important than their wedding. Those are casuals, and we don't really roll with them so much. Smart people can say casual things sometimes. Casual people rarely say smart things. That is a quote from Meemaw. We lost Meemaw in 2005. Meemaw was a real person. Meemaw, in an axe accident early in her life, lost her middle three fingers, and she lived the rest of her days writing with just her pinky and her thumb. And it was that way ever since I was born, so I always thought that was normal. My friends had to point out that, hey, you know, your Meemaw only has 2 of her 5 fingers and she writes with it. Isn't that kind of weird to you? I'm glad you asked. No, it's not weird at all. Director Colin's been with me since I first got here. The day that I walked into, at the time, the 24/7 Sports offices in Nashville, I met Colin. And I had him walk me over to their studio that they had. And I floated an idea to Colin. I said, Colin, first off, hi, I'm Josh. Secondly, you're telling me you know how to work a TriCaster? You know how to punch a show? Like, you know that? And he said, yeah. Does anyone here know that you know how to do that? They don't really ask. And so I asked him. And so Director Colin and I, the day I got here, launched the idea to do, at the time, Late Kick Live. And we started doing it, and then COVID set in, and we weren't dumb enough to talk about politics or infectious disease on the college football show that we started. So we stuck to college football, the audacity, right? And the show skyrocketed immediately, and it's never slowed down. And so now we kind of get to do whatever we want to because the show makes a truckload of money for everyone around here. And so they kind of stay out of the way, and we really appreciate it. And they're very cooperative with us and let us do, frankly, more than I ever thought we'd be able to do. Friday Night Lines, I already explained to you. It happens on the iJosh, which is just what I call my iPhone. There's really not a whole lot to that. If it sounds douchey, it is, and I'm not apologizing for that either. The Pate State store, as I said, will open up again very soon. We are extremely well-sourced here through the most atypical means possible. As we started the show, a lot of people appreciated it because the entire reason we started the show is I didn't think most of the college football shows out there were worth anything. I grew up watching some of them. I didn't think they were good anymore. I thought the NFL had like 47 different kinds of shows out there, and college football is the second biggest sport in this country, but it was very underrepresented. And so we set out to do a show that wasn't full of debate, wasn't really like a hot take show. It wasn't an X's and O's show per se. We just wanted to make a show that sounds a lot like what you do when you and your buddies go eat lunch. You just talk about college football. I know because I did the same thing when I was working in the fabric warehouse down in Columbus. I go to Clearview Barbecue around 12 o'clock every day, and we just talk about college football. So what those conversations sounded like at the lunch table is what we try and make this show sound like. It's appealed to a lot of you, but you know who else it appealed to? Players and coaches. A lot of them appreciating that the sport's being represented the way they want it represented. And so we've built a network, an army of sourcing. And it's now I can't go an hour of a day without hearing from an offensive coordinator or an agent or someone running a recruiting department or someone in the world of media. And all that we do is we take that and we try and build the most informed show we possibly can. It is built to serve the audience. It will always be built to serve the audience. I know we have some fun on here from time to time, and it can sound like it's self-aggrandizing a little bit. I promise you, it's the last thing in the world that we try and build this thing to be, because there is nothing special about us. There's something special about the fact that you watch. That's what's special about it. So we don't take that for granted, and we never will. Also, we don't really have many guests on the show. I do go out on the road in the spring. We sit down with the head coaches, pretty much every one of them in the country, open the door to their facilities for us, and we can go and we can get sit-downs with them. But by and large, especially in the fall, we don't have guests except for Thursday nights, because yes, Cold Cuts will be back this year, and our buddy Cole Kubelik, starting in about 48 hours, will be stopping by, and I'm going to do something a little different this year with Cold Cuts. I'm going to look at the live chat when I bring Kubelik on, and we're just going to react to the live chat. Could be terrible, could be great. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so that's about what I have. That's about as good an explainer as we've ever done for the show. Any questions, I will take them in the comment section. But in the meantime, we're ready for the season start. Appreciate you guys so much. For Director Colin, for Producer Jesse, I'm Josh Pate. Take care. We'll see you back here, same time Thursday night. Actually, we're starting an hour early Thursday night. So 6 Central instead of 7 Central. Until then, take care and God bless.